Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back. So, sorry I was away for a week. I had some personal stuff that I had to take care of, but I'm back now and we're doing another Reddit Reacts video today. So in case this is your first time watching a Reddit Reacts video, basically this is a show where I look for posts related to finance on Reddit and I give my 2 cents on the situation. So usually they're from Personal Finance or Personal Finance Canada. Sometimes I like to mix it up a bit too, but today we're just going to do some from Personal Finance Canada. Anyways, without further ado, let's jump in. So first one, we have a post by the user Linda from Evil Dead who says, coming to terms with never making a lot of money, and that's okay. So she says, I've never had a job that pays over 45K or even 45K if I'm lucky. I've only ever worked customer service, reception, and the only reason I fell into my jobs is because I got lucky. I'm very good at my job though. People find me very pleasant, helpful, compliment me to my boss often, so that's nice. Who knows, maybe my luck will continue and my next job will pay a little more, but it won't. I've tried to apply for different jobs within my job set that pay a little bit more, but it's a horrible feeling getting a generic automated response from Indeed saying, sorry, we moved on. To be honest, I don't know how to advance. I can't afford to go back to school. I don't have parents, family that can help me out financially, or me, my husband and I can live to save money. I have maybe about 20K saved to my name, but that's about it. That's all my money. It took a long time to save. I'm in my 30s and feel bad because I feel like I should have done better. I'm not lazy. I work hard and look after my family and myself. I'm just not really sure what my next steps could be. Edit. I should add that I do have debt. I went to school but ended up not following through with it because I hated it. I went to college right after high school because I was told by my parents I had to, and only being 17 at the time, I didn't know what the hell to do and went to the program that appealed me the most, but ultimately not being something that I wanted to pursue. So I'm in debt because of that, and that sucks. So first thing I have to say to Linda, I assume that's her name. I'm just gonna use Linda. That's probably not her real name, but that's her username. So first I have to say to Linda, you're far from alone, okay? So I know a lot of people that are in very similar situations that are making less than 45K a year and having student debts, right? So you don't have to feel singled out. That's the first thing I have to say. And if you're in a situation like this, how do you move forward? So the first thing I can think of is that a lot of people tend to undersell themselves when it comes to jobs and applying for jobs. And what I mean by that is that you read a job description and you're like, okay, I don't have 100% of the things that they want in this job description, therefore I'm not qualified. Maybe this job requires, I don't know, let's say 2 years of experience and you only have 1 year and you're like, oh, I can't work this job, right? So what you have to recognize is that sometimes job descriptions are total BS. So you can still get that job or at least get an interview even if you don't have 100% of what they want. And don't misunderstand me, I don't mean like lie on your resume, right? I just mean that you can still submit your resume even if you think you're not 100% qualified. And I also find in general that women tend to be less confident and undersell themselves more than men in like a career type situation, right? And I'm not trying to be sexist here, it's just a general observation that I've made, so you can put away your pitchforks for now. I just think that if you just paid a little bit more attention, you'll find that to be generally true. Of course, I recognize there are exceptions, but most guy friends I know just kind of have this attitude of like big D energy when they apply for jobs, right? They're just like, I'm just gonna put my resume and I'm gonna put myself out there and see what happens, right? And a lot of times it actually works out really well for a lot of people that I know that do that. And the second thing is that I would recommend not going back to school. Like I would recommend against going back to school unless you have a really specific degree, diploma, certification that you want for a specific job that you want. Or else you're just going to end up more in debt, right? So the problem here is that Linda has debt from her like previous student like degree that she didn't even finish, right? So the last thing you want to do is add on more debt to that. So to summarize the situation, the solution, in my opinion, is to not just give up applying for higher paying jobs and to simply put yourself out there. Or you can start a side project even and try to make that into a business. But yeah, don't go back to school unless there's a specific thing that you need. Okay, moving on. Next one. we have a post by a user named Pseudo R who says, what can I do as an immigrant? 25 years old, no debt, 60K savings. So he says, I'm an immigrant who is waiting for his PR, permanent residency. I really love Canada. I want to stay here forever. That's why I want to invest money, saving for my kids, retirement plan, etc. Right now I have 70K in my savings account, although I can only touch 20K unless I get my PR. I'm thinking of opening up a GIC or high interest savings account with $1,000 each and adding 200 Canadian dollars per payment. $100 each, and I don't have kids slash wife, but I like to start saving money for their future. Please, if you can give me suggestions about where I can save money, types of accounts, risk, that would be fine. Stay safe. So I think this situation is almost like the exact opposite of what the previous post was, right? So the OP in this thread has money to invest. However, he is a new immigrant and he's most likely not used to how finance and things like that work here in Canada. Whereas the previous situation, it sounded like someone who is not an immigrant because they said they went to high school here at least, but they're struggling to save up a lot of money for investing, right? So what I have to say to OP in this case is that he's actually in a really good situation to start off with because he has a decent chunk of money that is already investable, that's sitting in cash right now. He said that he was single with no wife or kids, and he's looking into a high interest savings account or GICs. And honestly, guys, like if you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably already know what I'm gonna say, right? And what I'm gonna say is that GICs and savings account, they're a waste of money right now. The yield you can get on a GIC right now is what, like 1% or 1.5%? So that's literally less than inflation. So if you think about it in real terms, meaning that you take away the inflation factor, you're actually losing money by investing in a GIC. So high interest savings account too, they yield even less than GICs because they're more flexible and you can take your money out at any given time. So like they're a waste of time right now. I would recommend OP look into other investment vehicles. And by other investment vehicles, I mean stocks and of course crypto. But it doesn't have to be crypto if you're like totally new. You know, people tend to like jump into crypto and put a lot of money and they invest in like random altcoins that go to zero, right? So yeah, I definitely would recommend you do your own research. And I'm not a financial advisor, so maybe get a real certified financial advisor and don't just listen to some guy on YouTube, right? But I'm just trying to push you towards that like area of actually getting financially educated and finding out different investment vehicles. And yeah, don't sue me if you lose money, but do your own research and only invest what you can afford to lose. But he says that he does have 20K out of that 70K because he says that he has to keep the 50K, right? But he does say that he has 20K to invest. So for those of you who are watching that are not Canadian, by the way, PR stands for permanent residence, which is like the Canadian version of a green card, essentially. So yeah, that's fine. Keep the rest of the money sitting in cash and you can just deploy the 20K, right? So yeah, moving on. Lastly, we have the user by the name of Native Plant who asks, is it a toxic trait to think if I make this purchase, I will work 2x overtime shifts to cover the cost? So they say, hey all, I'm a nurse and there's always overtime aplenty if I ever wanted it. I'm financially careful and saving a fair amount of money, but recently undertaken a move where I need to buy new things, laptop, phones, furniture, etc. I'm one of those people who get pain when spending money, whether it be necessary or not. So to me, psychologically, I think, okay, this laptop is $1,000, this cuts into my savings, so I'll need to work 2x overtime shifts to replace the cost. Is this sound financial thinking, or am I unawarely being financially stupid? TLDR title. So this is a very interesting topic. And my answer to that is that I don't think that this is a toxic mentality, but it could be if you take it to the extreme, right? But in general, no. So it all depends on if you actually commit to working overtime and making back the money that you spend. Because remember, guys, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep at the end of the day. And that's a very important distinction that not a lot of people recognize. And I just want to drill it into you guys' heads that this is something that you absolutely need to keep in mind. So if you commit to paying back this stuff and working overtime, if you can keep this up, this means that you actually think what you're spending money on is worth it, because you're actually thinking that is worth to spend overtime working to pay it back, right? So the issue lies when you say, oh, I'll just buy this new laptop and I'll work overtime at some point in the future to pay it off, and then you don't actually do it, and then you end up spending more than you make, and that's the problem. And I find this interesting because I used to work for this grocery chain here in Ontario called Longo's, and this was kind of my mentality as well when I was working at Longo's. I mean, I didn't have overtime at Longo's, but I used to always think to myself, if I buy this thing, how many hours at Longo's would I have to work to repay that thing? And if it was worth it or not, right? So if I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to work an extra like 20, 30 hours at Longo's to afford this large purchase, then I'm not gonna do it unless it was something that I really, really wanted and it was like really important and improved my life in a significant way, right? So you just kind of have to do that mental math in your head as to see what kind of thing is worth it. And this mentality actually helps you, right? Like if you just gauge everything in how many hours of overtime or just how many hours in general that you have to work to pay it back, I think that this actually helps you spend less money if you're somebody who has like a problem with spending a lot of money. So yeah, I think it's perfectly all right to have this mindset, and as long as you actually do what you say you're gonna do, it's perfectly fine. So yeah, anyways, these are all the posts from today, and we had some really good posts this week in my opinion. So be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing if you like the series. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, links down below in the description as always. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.